send out the email with the link now.
You need it. Sorry. Got it.
It's okay, I got it. But thank you. It's just a funny password. Okay. I just want to test this. I'm going to test this outside. Sure. Live stream's out. I just want to make sure it's sound okay. For real. I'll tell you when. Stop. It's still present. Okay, now.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yes, we've got good sound. to be sitting here watching, so nobody's going to be coming in this area anyway. So, yeah, this area is basically off limits because I'm going to have to stretch this. But I'm going to be sitting right here next to the computer operating it. So I think everything's good. I just tested the sound and video and everything. It looks great.
Yeah, I can adjust it.
Oh no, it's all good.
Sound level fine.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I just went around. I put some headphones on, went around the corner, and checked it. It's working great.
Yeah, that microphone really good.
Yeah, it was still really
Yes, that's right, in case people.
probably easier because at least I have the ability to walk around. Just watch out. I think the cordless one's perfect.
Testing.
Yes. I've already capitalist. It is 300 members. I said it. She's probably on that list. It's automatic. It should automatic.
Aviva, you probably already thought of this, but a lot of people in the basketball have really good
Actual site.
the
Keeper.
section. Perfect. Yeah, I figured
So
that.
sad that it just happened.
So she
I had a bad feeling that day.
Yeah, he's not well. Yeah, he is. So
You know what?
Spend as much time with
I'm
him.
with respect to conservators.
I will. I haven't talked to him yet. Yes, I'll definitely. I'll tell him you're not mad at him. That he's not mad. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, he remembers. He did something.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Right here. Yes.
Right here.
Simon.
Thank you.
Being so engaged.
He messes me up with that a lot. Actually,
It isn't me that recognizes my voice.
okay. Yeah.
I'm glad there's people here.
If it does get to seats here, so we're
Oh, like his throne.
That's right.
I don't know if you remember me, Shannon.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for your loss. I get to hold you up. Thanks for hearing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's going to look great. Just gotta get that. So basically, we have.
Yeah, it does. Great framing.
I think the framing is perfect.
Yeah.
I just think it should be off limits. Yeah, I think this area should be off limits, quite frankly. But
I'm sure we'll step in once.
no, but people were crossing because of, and the concern is this wire.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Simon, I don't know if you remember me, Shannon. This is beautiful. Wow, there you go. Packs them all.
Yeah, yeah. Whether she's swearing at people or
Well,
not.
yeah, however.
It was sent out. Okay, we should be getting started soon. Hi. So sad. But we're going to continue.
Yeah, we will.
We are. Live streaming here. No, not here. Not here.
Let's
Not
go
here.
one row back then. Dad, watch the cord. Watch. There's a cord there. Yeah.
Just one thing. All gun has to be removed because it's going to be picked up. Besides my sensitivity, the computer is going to pick it up. Thank you.
We can sit in this room here.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
It's just he's going to be reading something, and so it's just
Absolutely.
the less distance. Here.
Even if it was here, that's absolutely fine.
Right. Yeah. I am.
No worries. The only reason is, yeah, we do have, besides myself, there's some other people with sensitivities, so we have to make sure that that is not picked up by the computer, and this microphone is very sensitive.
Pretty good. She's finishing.
We will be beginning this service in approximately 3 to 5 minutes. Please make sure that you put your phones on vibrate.
Yeah, sure.
Lilith Finkler, she's coming, she's teaching me. Lilith Finkler, you remember Lilith Finkler? She's taking the train from London. She said she was going to be late to save her seat.
welcome. We begin this morning's memorial service by collectively doing what is called in the Jewish tradition, Kriyah, literally the cutting. If you are able to stand, please do so. If not, certainly you may do it in your seats. Some of you, many of you, may have been given a black ribbon as you entered the sanctuary. And if you would do so, if you would affix it on your lapel, it is a tradition in Judaism, one that dates back to biblical narratives, that in times of sorrow, upon hearing of the death of a loved one, we rend or tear our garments. And so, this morning, with Bonnie's niece Sherry, Terry her husband, her sister-in-law Pam, let us all collectively take the ribbon and this symbolically is a representation of the loss that you feel, the space in your hearts left by Bonnie Burstow's passing. We are acknowledging, as we do so as well, that there is much that is beyond our comprehension, the very essence of life and the essence of death. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mvorach. Please be seated. We will begin, as we do in our tradition, with parts of the psalm and quotations from Isaiah. Kol omer krav yamar ma'ekrav, kol habasar chatzir v'chol chasdo k'tzitz hasadeh. Yavesh chatzir nevel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo. Afei chatzir ha'am, Yavesh chatzir navel tzitz udvar Elohim yalkud lo'olam. We are like grass, and all our beauty is like the flowers of the field. But grass does wither, and flowers fade when the wind of the Creator blows upon it. Life quickly passes and fades. Teach us to use all of our days that we may attain a heart of wisdom. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are our few days in eternity. The good things in life last for limited days, but a good name like Bonnie's, will last forever. We are here today, a community of relatives, of friends, of students, of colleagues, of peers of Bonnie Burstow to honor her, a woman of character, of dedication, and of ideals, an altruistic woman who contributed so much to so many, in so many places of Toronto and this world, notwithstanding her own very grave health issues, a woman of a good name. 2 years ago this February, Bonnie called me to ask me to meet with her at Orsay to discuss what she thought was her impending funeral and the way in which she wanted it conducted. And despite the seriousness of this kind of conversation, I had met her several times before but didn't really know her. We had actually a most enjoyable conversation. And though, as I said, she felt that her death was most imminent, I hoped and I told her it would be lovely if we could meet again. But alas, that didn't happen, because of somehow the business of our own lives. And now today, I am here to follow her wishes of 2 years ago. It is indeed an honor for me, and I think for all of us, to be entrusted to do this mitzvah, this righteous deed, to give tribute to her with our love, our admiration, and to support one another at this sad time of her passing. Several people were involved in the final days of her life, and certainly during the course of her life, in the planning of today. I would like to ask Shane Diamond to come up to say a few words.
Bonnie was a woman who every day, with every fiber within, was completely devoted. We know her and love her for her uncompromising drive, her thirst for justice, her teaching, her scholarship, her writing of novels, and perhaps above all, her devotion to her community and loved ones. Bonnie changed my life in ways that are too plentiful to put into few words. My story is just one of many. I know the countless narratives of others shared with me over the years, that there are common threads of lessons and acts of kindness to be remembered. Bonnie not only helped us personally when we were in need and changed our lives for the better, but she also gave us the gift of seeing others' hardships within the context of how the world is organized that contributes to the individual and collective pain around us. Bonnie challenged us to work for positive changes, to help heal a broken world, and she demonstrated ways to go about it. Through Bonnie's teaching, work, passion, advocacy, and her determination to speak truth to power, she made a big difference. She ignited the spirit within our own hearts and minds to speak our truths and bear witness and stand up for what is right in the spirit of Tukunala. She deeply cared about will keep growing in the world through her writings, her teachings, and her social actions. She established scholarships devoted to supporting students who are continuing research in the areas of anti-psychiatry, mad studies, anti-Semitism, and violence against Indigenous women. Bonnie has devoted almost all of her estate to fund the efforts of students pursuing Tikkun Olam in the areas of anti-psychiatry and mad studies. She was determined to ensure that social justice work would flourish after she left this world. Bonnie wrote a beautiful statement about her radical counter-hegemonic approach to teaching, and I want to share that with you. These are Bonnie's words. I would have to say that teaching is the first and foremost calling for me, that it constitutes a significant part of my existential ground. Helping others in the work of uncovering and world-healing praxis, in the process engaging in practice with them and alongside them is an honor. However, beyond that, it is my way of being authentically who I am. It is my way of being with others and being in the world. Equal to her care for continuing support of activism and activist scholarship, Bonnie cared deeply about each and every one of our personal well-beings. Bonnie and I shared a lot of discussion about her end of life over the years, and she was very clear that she wanted people to have opportunities to come together to celebrate her life and to support one another. She was concerned about us and wanted to make her end-of-life celebrations accessible to all who would benefit from participating. As Bonnie wished, we will also meet again for a memorial in Boise, sometime in the next year at a date yet to be established, to again celebrate her life, to continue and to include people who perhaps cannot make it to her funeral today on short notice. Even in her death, Bonnie was so caring and loving towards us. I want to acknowledge the group of wonderful individuals who rallied around Bonnie in her last days. As most of us are aware, Bonnie had many health struggles over the years. We often joked, although we also knew it to be true, that Bonnie was kept alive by her work in activism. When she could not eat physically to fuel her body, her passion and commitment to her students, scholarship, and activism gave her drive to continue. The acute illness in recent days struck fast, and Bonnie did not have much time left. I'm sad to say that I was unable to get a flight back in time to be with Bonnie in her last moments. I'm so grateful to those of you who were with her, and know that Bonnie is so grateful to you. She was surrounded by love in her final days, by people who worked tirelessly around the clock to lovingly do everything possible to fulfill Bonnie's wishes about how she wanted to die in a dignified way. This was not easy, as with everything about Bonnie, some of her end-of-life wishes were unorthodox. The most important part of her dying process is that she was surrounded by members of her community, friends, and students, which was her ultimate wish in passing. I will close letting Bonnie speak for herself. She left a final message for me to share with you. Her students, colleagues, comrades, friends, chosen family, and family. These are her final words to you. I love you, and my life has been enriched by what we have shared together. Unlike the fool in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, who declares himself worse off for his friends, I've always been much the better for my friends, colleagues, and students. You have taught me, touched me, and helped me make the world my home. My apologies if I have been a burden to any of you in my final days. Knowing my capacity for terror, I suspect in advance that in some cases this may be so. Be aware that I have thought of you often as the decades go by, usually with excitement and oh so often with wonder and gratitude. What times we have had, personally, in some cases professionally, and in some communally. What a mitzvah it has been to think and talk and hope and dream and disrupt and create and build and tread together through time and space and meaning. Thank you for the gifts of knowing you, being known by you, and journeying together. Thank you for letting me into your heart. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the world. Shalom. Bonnie, may you rest in peace. May you rest in power. You have made a huge difference and your work will go on. You are deeply loved.
Thank you, Shingle. And now I would like to ask Simon Adam to say a few words. Yes, Simon.
Yes, sorry. Yes, students. Good for him. Yes.
Putting this statement together was one of the most difficult tasks I've had to do in a very long time. And not because of the visceral, emotional nature of putting the eulogy together that played a role, but because there is so very much to say about Bonnie that it seemed a gross injustice to try to do it in a few minutes. And so this doesn't even count as an attempt, so I won't even try. Or alas, I have to say something. I knew Bonnie for over 12 years. She was my thesis supervisor for both my graduate units. She was my mentor, and she was my friend. In working with a team of her friends to organize her final days and her funeral, I was forced to delve into various documents, full photos, stories, and narratives related to my friendship with Bonnie. And so, in viewing of Bonnie's recent life and her work, the impact she's had on the world, I saw much of my own reflection. I saw a lot of me, and I'm so profoundly proud to say that much of my scholarship, the way I view the world, and the relationships I forge within the world is informed by Bonnie's unique and sensitive teachings. Bonnie published many, many books, a whole bunch of novels, and many, many more articles. She put on a whole bunch of artistic installments and artistic publications. Bonnie was a powerhouse scholar. She was a courageous activist. She was an original thinker. She was sensitive, she was complex, and she was present. Her mission was to reimagine and recreate a world free of violence, free of oppression, and one that is accessible, productive, and vibrant in every respect. Ralph Emerson, an American philosopher, wrote the following: "To leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know that every one life has breathed easier because you have lived, that is to have succeeded." I breathe easier because Bonnie lived. Those of us who knew her or knew of Bonnie's work would agree that Bonnie has indeed succeeded in making the world a bit better. When I sent out the announcement of her death, I received an outpour of responses from friends and family and fellow activists and all sorts of former and current students. And this is what some of them had to say about Bonnie. For those of us who have had a chance to reflect on, Bonnie was unique in many ways, an amazing teacher, mentor, scholar, and supervisor. She was a warrior. She had so much more wisdom to share with the world. I believe she will continue to be an active inspiration to many for years to come. Another said, "I have been thinking quite fondly of all that Bonnie has brought into the world, into my world. She was so far-seeing and thoughtful, a quality in such short supply these days. Boise will find itself missing such a unique and brave scholar, a strong intellectual, and a far-seeing teacher. How very sad for everyone. My heart is broken." Bonnie was a great woman, educator, and friend. She was so supportive to her students, she walked the talk. "I don't know what to say," another colleague said. "She was so central to our programs, a fearless activist and social justice protagonist, and a mentor to me, and a dear colleague to all of us. Bonnie leaves a legacy of radical thought and action that will live on through all of us who had the good fortune to have worked with her." A fellow activist said, "I was very proud to have marched and spoken with her back in the early 80s, when many changes in policy and attitude took hold. She possessed an extremely bright intellect, along with irrepressible energy and spirit. With her warm heart, she treated me as if the 80s were just yesterday. She will be sorely missed." Another said, "She's a profound champion of the truth who spoke truth to power, while also working from the grassroots. May she rest in power and live through the many seeds she has planted. Her presence among us will certainly be missed. Her legacy lives on." May this brief list of statements be a very small representation of the love, the care, and the courage that Bonnie has sent rippling through the world. As another and final indication of how Bonnie loved, cared, and indeed encouraged those with which she worked, I want to end with an excerpt taken from her teaching philosophy statement. So correspondingly, Bonnie says, "What I see students as asking from me and or minimally having a right to expect is that I will at once help them see the world in new ways and help them contribute to social justice while at the same time helping them become more authentically who they are and who they can become. as knowers, as actors in a moral universe, and as creative human beings. There is no way of knowing how much of what happens can be attributed to what we as educators bring, how much it is, what the students make of what we bring, and how many of our students could have gotten where they needed to go on their own. So, getting out of their way is our major contribution. Typical Bonnie style. I asked students to engage with each other and with oppressed communities to problematize, to identify obstacles to hope and aspiration, and then to engage in the transformative acts needed to create the world together. That was Bonnie. Bonnie, thank you for breathing into this world. Thank you for your life.
One of our sages said that it's not our responsibility to make sure that all the tasks are done before we die, but it is our responsibility, and those who are left's responsibility, to keep working at it. And with that, I would like to ask Burstow Varga to say a few words about Bonnie's activism and to continue.
Yes.
Hi everyone. We've lost a beautiful, lovely friend, mentor, scholar, activist, feminist, professor, fellowship disturber, organizer, leader, glue of the department.
Yeah.
She meant so much for so many people. She meant so much to me. I learned so much from her. I've been blessed to have been part of her life. I've known her for over a decade and more closely for the last few years. And she passed away so quickly, and we're all in shock. It's so surreal. But she passed away peacefully at the hospital, very peacefully in the end. And I saw her move further away from this world that was so different from the vision that she had or the way she saw the world. And the world that she would have liked to have seen, that was so different from her own ideas, and the world that made her sick when people moved their hands or spoke or whispered near her. Plants that made her sick. Away from allergies and sensitivities, allergies to psychiatrists. And I could see her moving away to her new journeys. And we wish her all really the best in her new, where she's moving on to. Now, she would have wanted for us to have continued the movement. So I say today a few things that we need to think about in order for us to continue the anti-psychiatry movement and to work together and to support each other in this very, very difficult time. There's many people that were touched and are affected, and she would have wanted us to be together and make sure everyone is okay, and to work together and to support each other through this and to continue to do the work, the anti-psychiatric work that she started. So we need to grow this movement. So there's a few things, a few announcements and things that she would have wanted us to know about and think about. So one is the campus meetings will continue. They're held always on the first Sunday of the month, though this coming Sunday, because of New Year's, it will be held this coming month. It will be held this coming Sunday, at OAZ on the 7th floor, room 7, 162 at 1 o'clock. So we want people to come join us if you can. It's a very important Sunday because we're organizing her book launch for her most recent book, which we are also going to continue. which will be on Friday, January 4th at 5:30 p.m. at OEC on the 12th floor in the Nexus Lounge. We want people to come. We're also working on an anti-psychiatry library, the first ever in the world. And we're asking people to donate their anti-psychiatrist critical psychiatry books to the library. We have office hours on Mondays at 4 to 6:30. We want people to come to drop off their donations and come speak with us and to have a place where we can talk and collectively grieve and remember Bonnie and laugh and be a support for each other. We need to remember that Bonnie would have wanted us to continue the struggle, to laugh, to become befrienders, what she called befrienders to each other, in order to collectively work on a better world. I know I've thrown a lot of details to you. She would have wanted you to know this and to come together to continue this work, this important work. I've thrown a lot at you, so please do look at the CAPA website. And if you want, you can speak with me if you want those details again. Thank you for everybody being here. We've lost such a lovely soul. Congrats.
Before we continue, for some of you who are just getting in or standing, there are some seats over on this side. There's a couple of seats actually right here in front and over there, so that you can be comfortable. When I met with Simon and Shane this past Sunday to discuss more fully Bonnie's memorial, funeral service, what will be taking place actually at the Jewish cemetery at 1 o'clock, we talked about music and what she would have liked to hear. And Simon mentioned that he remembers vividly Bonnie's teaching the song, "Where Have All the Flowers Gone?" And that what was most important, what he will never forget, is that he related in her class, the class that he took at the time, how significant each of the phrases of this song were to her, and how she taught that they related to the Jewish people, to the Holocaust, to our history, and to the history of so many people. This song will now be sung today. Please listen, please consider how relevant these lyrics are to our lives and to the life of Bonnie herself. I would now like to ask Paula Wolfson, who is the Sabbath cousin at congregation Shirley Bainu, as well as a professional musician, to share with us this song.
I didn't know Bonnie, but I have a feeling she wanted you to sing. Yeah. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Gone to young girls, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men and everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young men gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young men gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young men gone? Gone to
radio song. Long time passing, where have all the radio gone? Long time ago, where have all the radio gone? Gone to flowers, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Bonnie asked that as part of the ceremony today, I share with you these lines from her last novel. The evening, each of us basking in the humanity of our fellows, from relative to honored guest, we did indeed celebrate. We philosophized, we sang, we joked, until our throats grew hoarse from laughter and stars fell from the sky. And in the process, nothing happened of the magnitude of the Red Sea parting. We were blessed, as all of you were blessed, with our own private miracle nonetheless. One that many of us remember from childhood, one that visited me in extremis, one that I pray that I be allowed to partake in for the remainder of these my declining years. We touched one another's hearts. And as we cut our paths in this difficult and often treacherous world, may we all of us continue to find ways to be with one another. Life, she wrote, is a lonely venture otherwise. It may even be that fellowship along the way is the whole point of the journey. Whether the fellows in question be loved ones, the stranger at our gate, or all our relations. Strip away the trappings of civilization, and what, after all, are any of us but weary travelers, whose reward at the end of the day is the sight of a friendly campfire, the smell of coffee brewing. There's the mystery of it, the beauty and the sadness too. We depend on the generosity of strangers from refuge from the storm. And to paraphrase, moreover, as the path sing of Burstow reminds us, we are here but a short while, yes? And the rest is silence. If you are able to, I would like you to please stand. While I chant the El Malay Rachamim, the traditional prayer chanted at a Jewish funeral. El Malay Rachamim, Shochein Baromim, Ansei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei Rashadina, B'malot Kadoshim V'Tohorim, Kizor Harakia Masinim, Et Nishmat Bracha, Batzalman V'Dina, Shahafal Olama, Began Eden Terein Menuchata, Ana, Bavarachamim, Astireha, Beseter Knafecha L'Olamim, Utzror HaChayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Unachalata, V'tanuach B'Shalom Mishkava, V'nomar, Amen. Please be seated. May the Spirit, the essence of Bonnie, daughter of Dina, and Solomon enter into the ineffable light. May she be carried, may she be comforted and consoled in the wings of the feminine aspect of the divine being, the Shekhinah, throughout eternity. There will be a graveside burial at 1 p.m. today at the Pardes Highland Cemetery, which is located at 11818 Bathurst Street in Vaughan. It is 2 miles north of Teston Road, Elgin Mills Road, and it is the community section. Bonnie requested that there also be an informal shiva, or coming together of friends and family to share memories, anecdotes, laughter, tears at her home at 411 Clinton Avenue, Clinton Street. This will take place this evening at 5 to 8 p.m. and as well on Wednesday and Thursday this week. I would like to conclude this ceremony with the words of feminist Jewish poet Marge Piercy. Those who truly inhabit our lives, writes Piercy, whose faces, whose gestures like fine choreography align the air, whose voices enter that ghostly inner ear, so that we shall hear them 10 years later in an empty room in dust. Never can their presence be replaced. Those with whom we are truly intimate, sometimes with hands and organs, sometimes with the paste of words alone, the creatures for whom the hollow places of our solitude are opened, wide to shimmer with the lighted lamps of love, we shape ourselves to hold them. To borrow the words of Rabbi Jack Reimer, when we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we have achievements that are based on hers, we will remember her. For long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us all, as we all remember her. May we have no more sorrows in our life, and may we continue the path of righteousness and good deeds that body led us through. Amen. Four, one, Clinton. My apologies, Bonnie would probably be standing up telling me I made a mistake. And with that, we conclude the ceremony for now. The funeral will continue actually, as I'm to repeat, at Guru Benjamin's Funeral Chapel at Paradise High Cemetery on North Baffin Street at 1 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you.